on, sir? Welcome. Now, again, before you even start with the question, I'll just start with a statement, which I know I normally don't. We are really excited about this opportunity tomorrow night. I am not concerned or even interested in looking at what Notre Dame's schedule is, what their record is. You throw all that out the window because this has been a game that's been a rivalry game, ever for a long time, going back to the Big East days, now in the ACC. So no matter what their record is, I'm expecting them to come out tomorrow night. I believe it's their green out game or some kind of a promotion for tomorrow night. So expecting a big crowd and knowing that I'm expecting a really, really good basketball game.
Are you concerned that also they've had such a rough season that they could use this game? It's like this is the moment of their season.
Yeah, no, this is what I've talked to our players about. That, you're sitting there, you're 7-13 right now, 2-6 in the league, and you're getting ready to start the second half. And now, okay, if I'm them, I'm like, we've got to start today. Our Louisville game Thursday night starts the next half. So we've got to take care of business at home. And then you're fighting, the same thing we did in 2010. We ended up 14-18, and you get to a point where it's like, if we can win 2 or 3 in a row, we can salvage the season. And I truly believe it starts with our game. So we are going into this preparing just like we would if they're 20-1, because I think that's the kind of effort we're going to get from them.
When you look at their roster, their starting five are pretty actually equal in scoring across the board from 1 through 5. What are some of the things that you think may happen up there in that one? I mean, obviously it's going to be a huge game for them. They want to beat Louisville visiting them.
Oh, sure. You look at their starting five, and you've got Sam Burnell, a McDonald All-American. You've got Sneezik at the point guard that played at Stanford, started for Stanford for 3 years, was starting point guard when we played them in the Sweet 16 there in Lexington. Destiny Walker, that was a big-time player at Carolina. Michaela Vaughn, you just continue. Gilbert, I mean, they're 5 really, really good basketball players. And I look at it, and I know everybody talks about, well, there's no depth. Well, I'm not sure they had a whole bunch of depth the past 2 years either, and seem to win a national championship and get back to a finals. So, it's 5 players that play the game. It's 5 players at a time. So we've got to understand that the 5 they've got starting out there are pretty darn good. And then they bring off the bench a post player that can stretch the floor in Cosgrove and can shoot the 3. So I've got the utmost respect for him.
Notre Dame, of course, talking about it, lost 80 to 90% of their offensive output, rebounding output, a lot of defensive players there as well. Then they lost the 2 transfers, and then, of course, had some unfortunate injuries this year. But losing those 5, drafted starters, from your standpoint, from a recruiting perspective, is that something you can prepare for, losing that many players at once, or is it something that just you can't do anything about?
Well, I mean, obviously, we graduated 3 seniors that were drafted too. I don't think our 3 were bad. And the one good thing about women's basketball normally is you're going to have your kids for 4 years. Now I'm sure Jackie Young was a surprise, to leave after her junior year. But it's part of it. I mean, you do try to prepare for it with recruiting, but then you do have kids that transfer out and things that you always don't expect to have happen, and then you have to scramble. We ended up getting two transfers in that got eligible. Notre Dame ended up getting 2 transfers in that got eligible. So Destiny Walker, being able to play, and then Sneezik from Stanford, I think, was a grad transfer. So, it's things like that now in today's game, because you can get some grad transfers and there are some situations where players can become eligible the same year. It can change some things, but it's always a challenge. It's a challenge managing a roster, trying to keep players happy. You're trying to win games at the same time. And then in today's day and age, everybody wants instant success. You walk in, you expect to play 25 minutes a game. And that's kind of what I tell all of them. I go, it's amazing to me that players want to play for championships as a freshman, but they want to start. So everybody else is really good on the team except for the player that the position you play. That player sucks. It's really amazing. It's like, guys, it's not how it works. When you're going into a top 10 program, everybody's pretty darn good. So you've got to compete and work to get to that spot. But that's what makes it a challenge now in coaching, where in the past players would come in and, you might sit for a year and you might sit for 2 years. And then all of a sudden you get your opportunity and you make the most of it. Now a lot want to come in as a freshman. Now, I think Notre Dame has the same philosophy that we have. I mean, if you're good enough to come in as a freshman to play, you play. I'm not going to make somebody sit just because they're not an upperclassman. I like to win basketball games. So we try to put our best 5 out there.
Coach, you kind of off that, you mentioned obviously you guys lost a lot last year, but just what do you think has been the key for you guys in sustaining that success throughout this year, even with so many different pieces?
Well, I think for us, which has really been, impressive, is to watch what Dana Evans has done, what Jasmine Jones has done, what Kylie Shook has done, Bianca Dunham. You look at our players that weren't the featured player, per se, on last year's team, and now more responsibility was given to them, and they've accepted that. They've elevated their game. They've taken it to the next step, exactly what you expect from players. Who's going to be the next one? Who's going to go out there? And I've always said it, we weren't going to have a next Angel McCoughtry. There's not going to be who was the next Shoni Schimmel, who was the next Asia Durham, Maisha Hines-Allen. For us, it's who's Dana Evans. Dana has stepped up her game. She's shooting a 3 extremely well. She's scoring at a higher rate for us right now. Jazz is doing the same thing. Like, Dana's game is not Asia's game. But she's able to be really successful at her game. And that's the same thing with all of them. So everybody has accepted the challenge in the offseason to get a little bit better. And that's what has allowed us to continue to improve and stay where we are.
Of course, after this game on Sunday, U.S. national team comes in here. Just kind of give us an update on attendance numbers that you know of and things about that.
Yeah, we are up to about 9,500 tickets out right now. So really, really pleased with that. Hoping to get to 10,000. We have about the entire a lower bowl and mezzanine. There aren't many of those seats available. So we will open the top section behind our bench like we did for the Pittsburgh game. So hopefully we can get that section full. Hopefully a lot of the suite holders will continue to buy their tickets for this game. And, if we could sit there, like I've said, my goal was to get between 10 and 12,000. Being a Super Bowl Sunday, I realize it's not the most convenient. But at a 2 o'clock game, and as I've said over and over, our games with going to quarters has sped up some now. So they're normally over an hour and 50 compared to the 2 hours in the past. So you are saving about 10 minutes of that. So that gives you probably, 3 or 4 more wings and an extra beer. So plenty of time at the pregame party.
Jeff, to go back to a point you just mentioned about the success that this team has had, you talk so much about consistency at the start of this month. Do you feel like they're really there right now? They're playing a little bit more consistent? Because, you look at the scores, you can see that, but as a coach, do you feel like there has been more consistent play?
Yeah, I do. I've really been pleased with how we've been playing at the defensive end of the floor. We are getting much better at following scouting reports. We're making people score and take shots that we want them to take. We're not going to hold anybody scoreless. But if we can make you take shots from where we want you to take them, and then the people that we want to take them, hey, if they make them, great. There are times you have to pat somebody on the back and say, nice shot. And then offensively, we're doing a really nice job of sharing the basketball. We're working without the ball, which has been allowing us to get open shots instead of always having to do the work to get a shot once you get the ball. So if we can continue to keep the ball moving at the pace it's been, getting it up the floor on makes and misses, quick ball reversal, look inside. And then I tell them all the time, I don't want to pass up a good shot to try to make a great shot because that normally leads to a turnover. So if it's a shot that you practice and you can make, take it. And that's what they've been doing. Well, on Sunday for us, just the opportunity to play the national team. I've got a lot of players that have aspirations of playing professionally, and one day hopefully having the opportunity to try out to play on an Olympic team, and they're going to get a chance to see firsthand what it looks like. You know, you can watch things on TV. You can sit there and go to a game and watch them, and you're like, oh, okay, they're okay. But when you actually get the chance to step on the floor, you get a whole new appreciation of how good these women are. And for us, it's going to be a great opportunity for them personally to see what this is all about. You know, it's not, I can't say it's the most ideal timing because it would be our bye week. But I just think for the city also, I think to be able to have a national team come in here in February, which I think will probably have maybe 7 or 8 of this group will actually play in the Olympics in Tokyo. It's quite impressive. I mean, there's 6 schools. 6 schools have had this opportunity, 4 in the fall, and then UConn and us, and that's it. So I took it as a huge compliment to our program, to what we've been able to establish here, and then to our players too, because they wanted, you know, they want to try to go play some people who are going to be able to push them and challenge them. And I'm hoping that's something that our kids will step up to that challenge and have fun. Now, I'm going to play everybody. You know, that's one thing I've told our kids. I'm going to let Jess get out there and play, and everybody that's healthy and can play, I'm going to give them that opportunity to do it. Because the last thing I want is to sit here and have these women with the national team competing and then have 2 or 3 kids not get the chance to go out there, at least run up and down the floor a few times and see what it's like.
Speaking of that, you had mentioned that your goal was to have Norika back to play some minutes in the USA game. What's her status at this point?
I'm still waiting to find out. She's actually been doing some running on the Ultra G. She says she feels good, but it's going to be completely up to her and the doctors and the trainers to where she is. Because then I'd love to be able to, if we can do that, play her for a few minutes and then see how that progresses to see if she would be able to play the following Thursday in our Florida State game and then at Syracuse. So we're really trying to get her back into the swing of things for conference play, but I know she would love to have this opportunity as well to play against the national team.
Coach, you mentioned obviously Jazz, Dana, and Kylie, and even Bianca, obviously having good seasons on the floor, but in the course of their career, how important have they been to the program with just their patience to finally get to this role where they're in right now?
No, it's what it's all about. I say it every time I go out recruiting and talk to recruits. It's a journey. Everybody's journey is different. You know, you've got some freshmen that come in here, start from day one. You've got some freshmen that, you know, they don't play a bunch their freshman year. And then all of a sudden they continue to work, they continue to grind, and they put themselves in positions to be able to play. And then you start to have that success, and then all of a sudden you're a junior, you're a senior, and boom, you have a great career. I admire what Bianca has done. You know, when Bianca first got here, she'll tell you, we were the only Division I scholarship that she had. And when she came here as a freshman, I tried to get her to redshirt. And I'll never forget, she's like, Coach, I came here to play, not sit. You know, and now when we sit down and joke about that conversation, she's like, man, I wish I would have redshirted. You know, because what you don't know, you don't know. And, you know, she laughed. She's like, gosh, if I was a junior basketball-wise, wow, look what next year could be. You know, and she actually was a lot of someone for Nia Green and Romani Parker to talk to. You know, they both talked with her about this redshirting decision that they made, because I didn't make either of them redshirt. But she talked to him about it, going, hey, you know what? Yeah, you're both good enough to play as a freshman, but you probably get more out of redshirting and then still having 4 years to play. So what Bianca's done by just putting her time in and getting better and better every single year, it's refreshing, because that's what used to happen. You know, now, like I said, if you don't get that instant success, it's where can I transfer? And, you know, Dana came in here as a freshman and fought and competed. And then as a sophomore, she'd actually, you know, she started our first few games as a sophomore. But for our team, we were better off with Erica in the starting lineup as my starting point guard, because then when Dana went in, she changed the tempo of the game. And I told her back in early the preseason, I said, you can either be another starter in this league or you can be sixth player of the year. And she ends up being a sixth player of the year, thank goodness. Because if that hadn't happened, then she might not believe me anymore. But it worked out, and that's what she was. And she just kept believing, hey, if this is what's best for our team, then I'm willing to do that. And that doesn't happen everywhere. But we have unbelievable open communication with all of our players. The one thing I do believe in, and I'll stick with it, is the truth. They might not like it all the time, but I never go home and go to bed wondering what I told them. I just tell them the truth. If you can't handle the truth, this program's not for you. And a lot of them, they appreciate it. At the end of the day, they appreciate it. And I look at what Dana's done through her career. Mikasa is getting better and better. And that's what it's all about. It's about developing players. Sure, we've had some great players who have come in here as freshmen. But Kylie Shook, the improvement she's made from her freshman year to her senior year has been remarkable. Bianca Dunham, the same thing. Jasmine Jones. I mean, you can just go back and start going through players. Sarah Hammond, Shantae Dyer, that didn't come in here and start as freshmen, but they continued to get better and better and better, and they were huge, important pieces of our program.
Just some thoughts on this USA team. They obviously played UConn Monday night. Don't know if you got a chance to see that or not, but a great start for them, and then UConn fought their way back into it. Was there anything out of that game that you kind of took as a strategy for when you play USA?
Yeah, I got to figure out whatever deal they worked out to shoot 20% in the second quarter. And that's what we have to figure out too. I watched them, and they're really good. They're really good. They play hard, and I thought UConn played extremely well. In that second quarter, USA shot 20%, and UConn had something to do with that because I thought they defended pretty well. But then they missed some shots that, normally it's like Kelsey Plum's got to open three, and you normally just circle it, and she missed a few of them. And that's what you have to have. When you're going to play the national team, you've got to have a few bounces go your way, some miss a few shots, because it's not like there's somebody that you're going to say, don't guard her. I don't think they select anyone to be a part of that team that you can say, don't guard her. There's so many great players that everybody can score. And that's the difference when you go from our level to the next level, is it's very seldom there's somebody out on the floor that can't put the ball in the basket. And that's honestly, I talked about it before, that's what made those teams at UConn back in like 2009 through 2013 when we played in those 2 years in the finals. There was nobody that I could gimmick on defense and not guard. You leave somebody open and they'd score 25 on you. Or you try to guard Breonna Stewart one-on-one, and that never worked out very well either. Or Maya Moore, or Tina Charles. I mean, you could just go through the list. So that's what I'm excited about. We're going to get a chance to watch them practice on Friday and Saturday. USA Basketball is kind enough to allow our players to come in and watch them, which I think will just be a wonderful experience for them and for me. I'm looking forward to it.
Coach, you talk about the USA national team. How important is it for the game of women's college basketball? What kind of impact does it have for them to be coming to so many different college campuses to play?
Well, I think it's great. I think it's a big impact for people to start to see how talented our women's national team is. I mean, I believe we're competing for our fifth consecutive gold medal. And, you hear about the dream team and the men's Olympic team. You don't always get a chance to hear about what the women have done. And now with them going out to different college campuses and cities to play, I think a lot of people are now getting a chance to come out and see, okay, there's Sylvia Fowles. There's Sue Bird. Angel McCautry is coming back. You're getting a chance to see why our women's national team is as good as it is. Thank you, everybody. And it's a big game tomorrow night. Believe me, I'm worried about that more than I am the national team.